South Park funniest school moments. When it comes to schools in television history, none are as hilariously chaotic as South Park Elementary. It's not just a place for education, it's a full-blown battlefield of absurdity where lessons rarely make sense and every class ends in disaster. Over the years, the halls of South Park have seen everything: broken rules, wild teachers, ridiculous assemblies, and kids who somehow survive it all. These are the funniest school moments in South Park history. It all starts with the teachers. Mr. Garrison, the forever confused educator, has turned more lessons into breakdowns than actual classes. Whether it's grammar, geography, or life advice, he somehow manages to turn every subject into an identity crisis. One of his funniest moments came when he assigned a show and tell and ended up ranting about his personal problems instead. The students just sat there silent, not because they were learning, but because even they didn't know what was happening. Then there's Mr. Mackey, the counselor with a voice so soft and slow that every sentence ends in "mk." His attempts to teach life lessons almost always backfire. In one unforgettable scene, he tries to lecture the kids about responsibility and accidentally causes total chaos. His advice sessions have included everything from confusing the students about morality to leading school assemblies that somehow make problems worse. He's the kind of teacher who means well, but by the end, everyone's more confused than before. One of the funniest classroom moments ever came from Cartman's respect my authority era when he decided he didn't need teachers at all because he was in charge. Dressed as a police officer, he stormed into the classroom, blew a whistle, and started giving orders. For a few glorious minutes, South Park Elementary became his personal kingdom until the real authorities showed up. It was the perfect summary of Cartman's school life. Loud, overconfident, and doomed from the start. Stan and Kyle, on the other hand, usually try to survive school with logic, which never works. One of their funniest school adventures was the time they tried to expose cafeteria food as unsafe. They built charts, made speeches, and held a student protest, only for the lunch lady to win by outsmarting them. The image of Stan giving a serious speech while everyone's eating tacos anyway is pure South Park comedy. Of course, the cafeteria itself is legendary. South Park's lunch lady Doris deserves her own spin-off. Whether it's serving unidentifiable food or singing love songs about mystery meat, the cafeteria scenes have produced some of the show's most chaotic humor. In one episode, she starts a food fight that spreads across the entire school, and somehow the principal joins in. Only in South Park could lunchtime become a natural disaster. Speaking of chaos, let's talk about the assemblies. No school in history has held more ridiculous assemblies than South Park Elementary. There's the one where the kids are forced to sit through an endless anti-bullying musical, only for the message to get completely lost. There's another where the principal tries to encourage teamwork, and it ends with a giant brawl between grades. The joke is always the same: the adults mean well, but the kids are the only ones who realize how absurd it all is. One unforgettable school day came when the boys tried to run for class president. What began as a simple election turned into a political circus. There were attack ads, debates, and fake promises. Kyle tried to be serious, Cartman spread rumors, and Butters just wanted everyone to get along. By the end, no one even remembered what they were voting for. It was the perfect parody of politics, played out by fourth graders. And then there's Butters, the purest, most innocent student in all of South Park Elementary. He's been the victim of countless school mishaps, from science fairs gone wrong to field trips that end in disaster. One of the funniest Butters moments came during the school talent show when he performed an entire tap dancing routine, only to accidentally trigger a full-scale catastrophe on stage. It's classic Butters, trying his best, failing spectacularly, and somehow still smiling through it. Another hilarious episode centers on the kids' attempts to skip school. Whether it's faking illnesses, forging notes, or pretending to start a student movement, it always ends the same way, with everyone getting caught. One time, Cartman faked a science project emergency to get out of class, but accidentally created a real explosion in the lab. Even the teachers had to admit it was impressive, not in the worst possible way. The science lab itself deserves a spot in history. Between the chemicals, broken glass, and kids who should never be near fire, it's basically a comedy minefield. In one of the funniest moments, Kenny accidentally turns a simple experiment into a citywide incident, proving once again that nothing involving science at South Park Elementary ever goes according to plan. The gym is another comedy goldmine. From dodgeball tournaments to bizarre physical education lessons, the kids never catch a break. One of the most iconic gym scenes came when the boys were forced to square off against students from another country, and somehow ended up starting an international incident. The combination of slow-motion dodgeballs, dramatic music, and total confusion is pure South Park energy. Recess, however, is where the real madness begins. The playground has seen everything from business ventures to revolutions. In one classic moment, the kids turn recess into an economy, complete with trades, rules, and taxes. Within minutes, Cartman's in charge, Kyle's frustrated, and the whole system collapses. It's basically capitalism and 10 minutes, and it all happens behind the monkey bars. Even the school nurse had her moment in the spotlight. Nurse Gollum, the kind, well-meaning staff member with a shocking secret, became an instant legend after her debut. The kids' horrified reactions and over-the-top attempts to help her are both awkward and hilarious. It's a perfect example of South Park's early style, blending ridiculous humor with surprisingly heartfelt moments. Another fan favorite comes from the school plays and performances. Every time the students are forced to sing or act, disaster follows. Whether it's a Christmas play that goes off the rails or a Thanksgiving pageant that ends in chaos, the formula never fails. The funniest part isn't the performance itself, it's watching the teachers pretend it's all fine while everything burns down around them. Principal Victoria and later Principal PC have also given the school its fair share of comedy. Principal Victoria's calm, "we'll handle this quietly" approach always ended in mayhem, while Principal PC's attempts to make the school politically correct turned every classroom into a debate hall. His constant shouting of "that's not okay" became a running gag that perfectly summed up modern outrage culture, filtered through the halls of South Park Elementary. Of course, we can't forget the substitute teachers. Every time a new one arrives, it's a guaranteed disaster. From unqualified instructors to outright lunatics, the kids have seen it all. One memorable moment came when the substitute tried to teach mindfulness, and Cartman turned it into a power struggle. By the end, the teacher quit, declaring, "This is not a school, it's a circus." And she wasn't wrong. Then there are the infamous parent-teacher conferences. They're meant to solve problems, but they usually create new ones. The parents complain, the teachers argue, and the kids just watch in disbelief. One scene showed an entire meeting derailing into chaos after someone brought snacks, turning a serious discussion into a shouting match about whose brownies were organic. It's the perfect microcosm of South Park life. Nobody's right and everybody's ridiculous. Even the school's field trips turn into legendary disasters. From museums that accidentally come to life to educational tours that end with explosions, South Park students have survived it all. One unforgettable trip was supposed to teach them about history, but instead, the kids sparked a full-blown war between reenactors. When they returned, the teachers just sighed and marked it as partial success. Through it all, South Park Elementary remains the beating heart of the show. It's where the kids learn, grow, and get into more trouble than any school system could ever handle. The funniest part isn't just the chaos, it's how real it feels, because every student, teacher, and parent in South Park's just trying their best and failing spectacularly. In the end, that's what makes the school moments so memorable. It's not about lessons learned, it's about laughter earned. South Park Elementary might be the most dysfunctional school in TV history, but it's also the funniest. And no matter how many times the building explodes, the teachers quit, or the kids run wild, class is always somehow back in session next week.